So over the years, a point I have made in my videos when responding to types like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Robert Reich is, they often bitch, they moan, they complain, they rant and they rave about greedy corporations and how greedy they are and how they're all focused on making money and making record profits. And a point I've often made in response to this is if these corporations that they are bitching and moaning about, if they're so good, if they're so greedy and good at making money and they just keep making money, more money hand over fist, then why aren't the people that complain about them, why aren't they investing in these companies and getting a piece of that pie? Why aren't they encouraging other people, especially if you're, the downtrodden, the people who need money, and maybe they have a few $100 to spare, just be like, hey, why don't you invest this money in, say, Walmart or a big oil company? And you can get a piece of those fat ass record profits. Why don't you guys do that? And then I thought to myself, why don't I do that? Why don't I do that? Why don't I take what Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren do? Why don't I take this as investment advice and invest my own money in these companies that they complain about and see how I do? And I want to be clear. This is not investment advice or money advice. What I'm doing is 100% for my own enjoyment. Because either I'm going to make some good return on the investment, or I might expose these charlatans, these frauds, for who they actually are. So back in mid-March of this year, 2022, I did a Twitch stream where I talked about how I invested roughly $900 in 8 different companies. And here's a spreadsheet I made. Here are the companies I invested in back in mid-March. Kellogg, Kroger, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Walmart, Chevron, Starbucks, and Tyson. And total invested, $890. And let's start with Kellogg's. This is from Bernie Sanders' own website from last December, 2021. He has this article about Kellogg's strike, about how he supports the workers, saying the poster child for the culture of corporate greed that we are experiencing is how Kellogg's is currently treating its employees. Saying at one point, last year, Kellogg's made over $1.4 billion in profits. And it paid its CEO, Stephen Kalinick, however the hell you say that, nearly $12 million in total compensation, a significant increase over recent years. So I saw this and I thought, wow, sounds like Kellogg's is doing pretty good. Why don't I buy a share of Kellogg's? As you can see right here, back in mid-March, I bought one share of Kellogg's for $66.10. So why don't we take a look at how Kellogg's is doing today? This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Today, it looks like Kellogg's is at $76.29. This is on top of the dividends I already made. I made 58 cents in dividends. And so this morning, when I saw that my one share of Kellogg's was up about $9 to $10, I thought, wow, that's what, a 14% return? I decided to sell that one share, and especially considering with this inflation, this alleged Inflation Reduction Act, or as I like to call it, the Wallet Reduction Act. They're talking a lot about taxing stock buybacks, which you'll see is a big thing with people like Bernie in a minute. So I thought, in the future, it might be less likely that these greedy corporations will buy back stock. So it might be a good idea to, count my wins while I'm ahead. 13% return in 6 months, I'm going to take it. So I sold my one share of Kellogg's. So now I got to bring the spreadsheet back up and get rid of it. But yeah, good gain. That's one of the shares I sold. But another company that Bernie Sanders has complained a lot about over the years is McDonald's. Here's a headline from Fortune magazine, says Bernie Sanders rips McDonald's, Starbucks, and Amazon for corporate greed as they post huge profits and price hikes. So I saw this and I thought, oh, McDonald's, Starbucks, they're making a lot of money. Going back to stock buybacks. This is a tweet from February of this year, 2022. Bernie Sanders says, yes, it is important that McDonald's pigs be treated humanely, but maybe it's more important that we take care of the humans who work there by paying them a living wage and making it easier to form a union instead of spending $15 billion on stock buybacks to enrich the wealthy. So I'm over here thinking McDonald's, Starbucks. As we can see with my spreadsheet, I bought one share of both. Let's see how McDonald's is doing. Back in March, mid-March, I bought one share of McDonald's for $226.25. I have since received one dividend at $1.38 for McDonald's. How's McDonald's doing today? According to the Wall Street Journal, they are trading at about $260 per share. This is another share that I decided to sell. Went from 226 to roughly 261. I sold it at 261. So right away, my total gains, these were the only two shares I've sold. I'm already up roughly $45 in trading off of gains. So, yeah, thank you. Bernie Sanders, what wonderful advice. You're complaining and bitching about these corporations making record profits. I invest in some of these companies, and I'm already making some pretty good money. But, yeah, he was also complaining about Starbucks. Not only Bernie Sanders was complaining about Starbucks, but Robert Reich. This is also from February. Robert Reich said Starbucks is raising prices after reporting a 31% increase in profits. So I'm seeing this from Robert Reich, and I'm thinking, holy shit. They're raising prices after making a 31% increase in profits. Revenue increased by 20% to $8 billion. I saw this from Robert Reich, and I see this from Bernie Sanders complaining about Starbucks record profits, and I'm thinking, maybe it's a good idea. Maybe I should try to get in on some of that action, huh? Why not, folks? So let's see how Starbucks is doing. Again, I bought one share at about $82.33 a share. And today, they were at about $84.69. All right, not a big gain. Not going to complain either. Not really down. I've made two 49-cent dividends on this stock, which is roughly 2.3%. Not great, but hopefully Starbucks gets greedier, as people like Robert Reich like to accuse Starbucks of doing. They need to get greedier because I need to make money, folks. And then we got companies like Kroger. This is Bernie Sanders. Back in January of this year, Bernie Sanders talked about how he sent a letter to the CEO of Kroger, which he attached to this tweet. And he said, if Kroger can afford to pay you, the CEO, over $20 million and can afford to hand out $1.5 billion in stock buybacks. See, they really fucking hate those stock buybacks. Elizabeth Warren was also big on this. This is from December of 2021. Elizabeth Warren calls out big grocery chains for putting company profits over customers. As grocers rake in high profits, they reward their executives with bonuses and stock buybacks while passing the costs on to consumers, with soaring food prices ahead of the holidays. So I'm seeing this. Also, don't forget about Walmart and Coca-Cola. You know, Walmart, people like Robert Reich and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, they've been complaining about Walmart for years, if not decades. And you recall my video, one of my videos on Robert Reich about how he got inflation laughably wrong. One of the companies he complained about was Coca-Cola for raising prices. And so going back to the spreadsheet, I got one share of Kroger at $55.59, one share of Coca-Cola at $58, and one share of Walmart at $149.29. That was mid-March. Why don't we see how those companies are doing right now? Well, Kroger, it looks like they are down to $49.60. Aw, gee whiz. Oh, well, so it looks like I'm down on Kroger. No worries, though. No worries. Made a 158-cent dividend. So, hopefully Kroger, hopefully they find a way to maintain their greed so I can still make some returns off those dividends, because it doesn't look like their stock is up at the moment. Walmart's another one. As I said, people have been complaining about them for years, if not decades. Remember the people over at Breaking Points, Crystal Ball, Sagar, and Jetty? They were talking about how Walmart, they were bragging to their investors and shareholders on calls about how they were just jacking up prices to make fatter profits. So I figured, well, if Walmart's making good profits, why don't I buy one share of their company? And it turns out Walmart is also down to 134, down from 149 when I bought a share back in mid-March. Oops. The good news is Walmart, I'm getting 56-cent dividends, which, what's the return rate on that? So what, a 1.5% return with the dividends? Ugh. Coca-Cola was another one. Bought one share of Coca-Cola at $58. Looks like this one is up to $64, making 44-cent dividends. Ain't going to complain about Coca-Cola. And then we got Tyson Foods. Tyson Foods, another punching bag for inflation. Because you remember these charlatans like Robert Reich, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, they said, oh, all of this stimulus spending, it won't result in inflation. And then when we got inflation, they decided to blame greedy corporations. What an asshole! One of them being Tyson. At hearing, Warren calls out corporations for abusing their market power to raise consumer prices and boost profits. In a question of members, the Council of Economic Advisors, Senator Warren called out the CEOs of Kroger, Tyson Foods, and Chipotle, just a few of many executives who have been bragging about raising prices on their customers to boost their profits. All right, so Tyson was one of these companies. And I decided to buy one share of Tyson at $86.75. How's Tyson doing today? It looks like they're down to $79. Oops. Looks like I'm down on Tyson. Tyson Foods, what are you doing? You got to get greedier. You got to use that market power so I can make some money off of my investments. And then finally, we have big oil companies. This is another scapegoat for inflation and high gas prices. This is from March of this year. Bernie Sanders. He was complaining about how oil companies' revenue since last year. Exxon is up 57%, Chevron is up 84%, Shell 49%, and BP 45%. So I decided I'd buy one share of Chevron at $166.37. How is my Chevron investment doing at the moment? Why don't we take a look? Turns out it's down to $161, almost $162. So not up, not down significantly. I've been getting $1.42 dividends on Chevron. So hopefully Chevron, they get greedier because I need to make some money. But in total, it looks like Based off of my upselling of McDonald's and Kellogg's, along with the dividends, as of right now, within 6 months, I've made a total of $53.37 off of $890 in investment, which is roughly a 6% return in just under 6 months. So, yeah, thank you, Bernie Sanders and Robert Reich and Elizabeth Warren. 6% return in 6 months. That's over twice as much as I would get on a CD or a savings account in 1 year. Also, with the money that I freed up from selling McDonald's and Kellogg's, I decided to invest in another greedy corporation that these charlatans like to complain about, which, going back to this article from Fortune magazine, Amazon. Of course, they've all been hating on Amazon. Even right-wingers like Tucker Carlson like to hate on Amazon and Jeff Bezos for making so much money. So with the money I freed up from McDonald's and Kellogg's, I decided to buy one share of Amazon at about $134. So we will see how that turns out. But yeah, again, thank you to people like Bernie Sanders, Robert Reich, Elizabeth Warren for all of your bitching and moaning, because I took that as investment advice. And I made some investments, and I've made more than twice as much as a return as I would on a savings account or a certificate of deposit. But I've also shown that you guys are not always right with how you demonize corporations for making record profits. Because as I've talked about before, Walmart's, their profits have actually been down. Even Amazon. I'm making a risk with Amazon, $134 after earlier this year they reported losing billions of dollars. So that's charlatan investing for you. My Bernie bucks. I have both made a good return on my investment so far, and I have demonstrated that these charlatans are not always right when they accuse these corporations of making record profits.